what are the two worlds of the Philippines? Okay.
You tell me.
So, from what I learned, okay, watching all these videos, interviews done to foreigners and locals in the Philippines,
Mm,
it seems like there are two worlds to the Philippines, and they're definitely marketed differently. And the foreigners have actually, and for this very reason, is why foreigners actually keep coming back to the Philippines as well.
what is
Yes,
it?
it's a beautiful country. It has the people are amazing, the food is great, but Manila, Quezon City, and all that the major area is like a
Mm,
world on its own.
mm-hmm,
Okay,
mm-hmm.
if you venture an hour in any direction outside of those cities, you're in a whole different world.
Let me tell you already while your camera is trying to focus.
Yeah,
The
sorry.
US has, New York, LA, and then there's also the southern states kind of thing. It's kind of like saying, oh, America has like three different cultures or
Mm,
three different worlds in America. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm,
of
mm-hmm.
course, uh, it's going to be different. But what else? What else were you going to
Well,
say? I'm
no,
sure that's
there's a
not it
difference
yet.
though. It that in a way. Well, let me tell you this: you're gonna find more people in the Philippines, the foreigners that goes into the Philippines, that will
Mm.
venture outside of the main world, which would be the city, Manila and
Those are
Quezon
the
City.
ones that know what's up.
Yeah, those foreigners will venture out into the new world. Basically, you're
Mm-hmm.
not gonna see a foreigner
Mm-hmm.
fly into New York City. Hey, let's go to Wyoming. You see my point?
Yeah, baliktad. It's opposite here.
Yeah.
When foreigners come, it's weird though. There was this lady that did a vlog about 100 day or 100 hours just eating like street food,
That's
and
awesome.
yeah,
Are
they
you
went
kidding me?
to
That's
she
awesome to
went
me.
she went like to the heart of street food, which is like
Right.
tondo,
Tondo.
which is great. But at the same time, there's Dagan in Bohol eating his street food like right in the middle of the ocean or right by the shoreline, which is a
Right.
totally different experience.
Right. Right.
But it's the same street food.
hmm And so these foreigners would come to the Philippines. You'll see all these interviews that's going on YouTube, right? So there's this guy. He's interviewing foreigners in BGC or in
Mm,
Manila, and he's asking the questions of like, what about the Philippines that makes you want to keep coming back? What makes you want to stay?
there's flavor for everyone.
And they all have the common answer of it's a city that's growing by the
Mm,
day. You know, it's moving into the new world.
okay.
The flip side of that is there's a number of foreigners that are saying, "Oh, this is the stopping ground for us." We come here from wherever we came from in BGC.
Hmm.
We enjoy it, but we prefer to go out into the other part of the Philippines, into the
Right.
provinces. And it's
Right.
amazing. There's the different foreigners that really provide or prefer to live in the BGC or the Manila area because they don't want
Right.
to lose the frugality of life. And then there's
It's
the
like
other ones that
Baskin
just
Robbins.
simplify things. Huh?
32 flavors of the Philippines. It's like Baskin
Right.
Robbins.
Right.
32 flavors of the Philippines. There's flavor for everyone.
Right. Right. And
And
it's
yeah,
surprising.
and any foreigner that says, "Oh, the Philippines sucks because, it's so traffic." Like, where'd you go? Manila.
Right.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice in the Philippines because everything's so like orderly and clean. Oh, where'd you go? BGC. Oh, it's
Right.
so nice because there's so many beaches. Yeah, I mean, of course, there's again, there's flavor for everyone, and if you've
Right.
got the
Right.
money to, and speaking of foreigner vloggers in the Philippines, there's this guy that's getting a lot of, I guess the right word is virality or clout lately.
Mm.
I forget his name and I don't remember the name of his channel. Forgive me, but I know that his real name is Mike and he's Canadian and he's based in Iloilo right now, but he's traveling all over the Philippines just to sort of, dip his toes into all the different cultures, experiences around the
Mm-hmm.
Philippines. But
Mm-hmm.
again, I think the operative word there is that he decided to base himself in Iloilo.
Manila. Oh, in Iloilo.
Yeah, Iloilo, exactly.
That's
And
funny.
also take note, Commander Daot and Colas, where are they based? Davao,
Davao, right? They're in the provinces
right?
of Davao.
But there are also vlogger families or families on YouTube that I also shared with you that are based in BGC and they love it there.
Right, right, right.
But
So
again, but Kulas and Daot would like not touch BGC with a 10-foot pole.
no, man, they literally. It seems like it's not like they don't hate going there. Hate is a strong word, but if
Mm.
they could avoid going to Manila, they would absolutely avoid going to Manila. you know?
When Dagan was at BGC, he was in my eyes, in my interpretation, he was short of saying, "What time's our flight tomorrow?"
Oh, really?
Practically,
right,
so
right.
they spent a good 12, we were I would say 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours
Uh
at
huh.
BGC, but they were
Right,
like, let's get out of Dodge,
right,
let's go.
right,
Can't wait to get
right,
home.
right.
So,
It, it's it's a surprising thing to watch foreigners when they talk about the differences between Manila and the provinces. Um, but at the same time, they're not too afraid to venture out there, which is great. You know,
when I
so it
mentioned
makes me
Dagan,
worry. I'm
shout
sorry. Go
out to
ahead.
his channel, by the way. It's Millennial Legends.
Correct. Yes. Day again.
Yeah.
Spill. Watch and subscribe.
What's your thing though? Is this something that you found out like recently? Like, are you so surprised about the two worlds of the three,
I,
four worlds of the
it
Philippines?
surprised me, but it also leads me to question of how, because one of the foreigners, she's actually from Canada as well. She mentioned that she's a little worried of how it might drastically change the Philippines because Manila and the city is growing and expanding in such a fast pace
Mm,
that she's worried that um, it's starting. It might destroy the traditions of the Philippines.
mm,
As Manila and the city expands, it also adapts to Western society, the Western world of living, the lifestyle, so to speak. And she felt like, and it is great. She said that because she's actually lived at the province in uh, Cavite,
mm.
I think it
Or
was. I
my
can't remember.
my my backyard
Yeah, yeah, it's not that far, but it's still the provinces is what she's saying, and she's
out,
starting to feel the difference of
south
how
side of Manila.
the expansion of the city is starting to affect provinces, and she's worried that maybe is is um is tradition being left behind by the new world, and she's experiencing this firsthand in Manila. You know what I
That's
mean?
what I'm worried about in general for the Philippines. As a Filipino myself, that's whether I'm part of the problem and it's partly my fault or what, but
Right?
that's what I worry about for us in terms of culture. Again, Dagan, Millennial Legends, we were talking about a lot about this, and it's so much in my face. Also, when I was talking to him at the Filipino American Heritage
Mm-hmm.
Cemetery
Mm-hmm.
about how I'm just, I'll say it flat out. I'm jealous about, or I envy the way Americans, you guys are. It's not the culture. It's just the attitude about heritage. It's, about history,
It's valued
history,
more.
history museums. Yeah. Like,
Right.
we do have that. We do have like heritage museums. We do have, culture, that kind of thing, but it's not like the other night. I just found myself watching the Arlington Cemetery, changing of
Changing
the
the guards.
guards,
Yeah.
and it's such a different feeling that I can actually say that I've been there, that
Mm-hmm.
I could say that I've seen the changing of the guards, kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's
Mm-hmm.
such a different feeling when they do that. That's us. We do something like that, but it's more theatrical and it's more sort of for show,
Right. Right. As opposed to the actual meaning of things.
and I don't mean to like make light of our culture and what we are trying to do,
Mm-hmm.
but there is this palpable sense of what's the word basta about heritage and culture and
Core
how
value.
I don't know what it is. I
Right,
don't know
right,
what
right,
it
right.
is. There was this like to give you a to circle back to Club John Hay. There's this fight between or this balance that you're trying to figure out between developing Club John Hay versus and building more resorts, buildings, malls
Mm-hmm.
versus keeping it the way it was, but it's not making any money if we
Correct.
keep it the way it was.
Right.
There's this road going to John Hay. For a long time on Lawakan Road, there's this tree like right on the middle of the road.
Mm.
And for a long time, people were saying no to cutting that tree and eventually it got cut down, sadly.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
So there's that juxtapose between development, build, making life more efficient and better versus tradition,
Here, yeah,
heritage, and the way things were before.
they preserved things here more in the states, in the U.S. History is preserved to as a tool to move forward.
Yeah,
Not exactly change it, but adapting obviously, but as a reminder that this is what this country means.
over here it's like we're running out of land. It's like, oh, no,
Right.
no, no, we gotta do something to make more land, or you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
the geography and the size of the US versus the size of the Philippines. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's what it is, but you guys have more, like for example, battlegrounds, right?
Right.
Again, going back to Gettysburg and that kind of thing. I don't think we have like a Gettysburg place around here.
I don't even think so. Which actually there should be a lot. I mean, the only place that I know really with something like that in the Philippines is Bonifacio.
Oh, there's Corregidor Island.
Oh, yeah, but again, who's to say or who knows much about that? Like here, even with what happened at the World Trade Center in New York City and the
Mm.
attacks on New York, that place has been memorialized now because the U.S. does not want to forget the not only does not want to forget the bad things. They use it
I,
as a reminder
is
that
it
and that it could move forward. Now in the Philippines, anything bad in the history is not exactly projected out there because they look at it as like a bad thing in the Philippines already. It's something that they just want to forget. For
right?
example, what happened with the People Power movement? Supposedly
Yeah.
the moving of President Marcos from office back then. They look at
Mm.
it as a bad thing already. Yes, of course, it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing because it pushes the country forward. As opposed to embracing the bad for your country to help you move as a country forward, to just keep pushing it down.
A lot of millennials, kids nowadays don't even know about the People Power movement. Don't
Oh,
even know
they
about
don't.
the
Yeah,
Marcos era. The
yeah, yeah.
you know,
Well, come to think
and
of it, it's like over 40 years ago. 30 years ago. That's a long
but,
time.
but I think you said it already. Though people want to forget. Parang
Nowadays.
it's
Nowadays.
uncomfortable, and instead
Mhm.
of honoring it and making it like something to a stepping stone forward, parang we just want
Mhm.
to forget it and just
Mhm.
let it go and move on. Parang
And I think that's what's happening in regards to what this girl or this lady that's being interviewed has said. Tradition is in the Philippines is practically not embraced anymore. It's all about moving forward to the new world, you
is this
know?
a foreigner saying this or a Filipina?
Yes, like I said, she's a Canadian who's been back and forth to the Philippines and Canada for years, and she's lived in Cavite.
Filipino Canadian or Canadian Canadian?
Canadian, like white blonde
Oh,
her hair,
oh, 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 oh.
and it's she's a little bit, she's not a little bit, she's worried, because it's happening too quick and too soon. I think she said that she's been going back and forth for like 10, 15 years, and she's noticed it dramatically in 10, 15 years. You know what I mean? So that's a
We
scary thought.
are excited to move forward. I think that's also a good thing.
Mm.
So, but I unfortunately at the consequence with that is we forget. We tend to forget, or we want
Mm-hmm.
to brush it aside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a coping mechanism of the Filipinos. And or it's just something that I don't know. I don't know what to blame or what to attribute it to, but
Right.
it is something. There is something very palpable, you know, taking honoring heritage.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
really like feel it, smell it, taste it versus yeah, this is where they fought the war before and a lot of people died. But okay, next on the tour guide is oh, you know what I mean?
So is the question, is Manila moving the Philippines forward as a whole, or is it just for expansion to be able to move forward on its own? Yeah, gotcha. I gotcha. And it sucks. It sucks. Um, it's sad because it's really affecting the entire country as a piece. Instead of embracing the provinces and the beauty and the nature of the Philippines and what it provides. And believe me, there's so many beautiful places in the Philippines. It's the biggest marketed thing in the Philippines right now. All I see is like BGC, BGC, BGC. You
I
know what I
wanna
mean?
I like to joke about with remember Roberto and his advocacy about food.
Yeah.
I um it reminds me of the whole idea of traditional cuisine
Mm-hmm.
that that would be nice to go back to, but instead of that what we do is like what's the next fusion, how can we like make it
Yeah.
more
I
modern.
hate that. I hate
you
that.
know so i
I
think
hate that.
I think that's how it is quote in everyday life or in more palpable terms, to be more
Mm-hmm.
to give a more specific tangible example is the food, about how how we treat our food is basically how we're treating our culture in a sense.
Well, let me put it to you this way. All right. And food's dynamic. Philippine food is not even as expressed or popular the way it is. Why change it already? Why infuse it already with something else just to be gain traction? Then you're not promoting Philippine food. You're promoting
But
the infusion of things.
isn't it like I know, like isn't it like if it's not, it's kind of like putting up a YouTube channel and whatever niche that you're doing, it's not working out for you. Isn't it time to pivot? I mean, in all fairness, aren't the chefs, restaurants just trying to do what we can to put the Filipino food up there? And maybe the traditional food doesn't work out. That's why they're going into fusion.
I no, I don't think it's the same. Well, it could be. Look, it could be the same way. But in my eyes, I would want to improve the traditional Filipino food first.
When you say improve, does that mean fusion,
No,
bastardizing the traditional food? What does
no,
improve
because there
mean?
in there's infusion means is literally changing the technique and adding on a different kind of technique into it or the food itself. You
Maybe
know,
that's the answer. People have different ideas of on what improvement slash infusion means or what moving forward means.
I don't know. I think in regards to the food though, I would not want to venture off and express Filipino dishes infusing it already. Not yet. You know, because the traditional Filipino food is good as it is. I
I want to
mean,
give
I'm
you
sorry.
another example.
Mm.
At the Arlington Cemetery, changing of the guards, they specifically and they really adhere to, silence and
Mm-hmm.
stand up. If you don't be silent, if you're not silent, they will kick you out. And if you're not standing up, they'll look at you funny kind of thing.
Right.
When you walk into the Filipino American Heritage Cemetery in BGC, which not a lot of people go to, seems, because it looks so well guarded,
Mm-hmm.
you will instantly, parang like you walking into the old, John Hay before, where people all of a sudden respect the place.
Mm.
And you walk in, the guard actually asks you, is this your first time here? Then if it's your first time, which was our first time, they gave you a list of rules that you need to follow.
Right.
And because they're
Right.
enforcing it, and then as in there's people actually looking around, and they do tell you to, like, stop taking photography or stop taking videos or what. they
Mm.
they
Mm.
they they enforce the respect. So but if you do that, let's say
which
if you
makes
do
sense.
something like that in a regular Filipino cemetery,
Hmm.
you can kind of do whatever you want to do. If you want to play music, you can go ahead and play music. If you want to have a party inside the cemetery, I don't know if there's rules
Yeah, they don't have
uh,
that here.
stopping you from doing that or not.
Yeah,
You know
here
what I
that
mean?
they're not. It,
But but that's what I
there's
mean.
that thing.
It takes the Filipino American Heritage Cemetery to do that versus if you do it in another, you know what I mean, in another
Yeah,
cemetery, parang
yeah,
you're
yeah,
free to
yeah,
do whatever it is that you want to do. So kanya-kanya, eh.
yeah, yeah. So
To
to
each his
close
own.
this out, my thought on the whole, the two worlds of the Philippines, and is it moving forward? Is it tradition being? Um, it remains to be seen. But I think it is moving in that direction. I do believe, and I see that what they're doing with Manila and Quezon City and all that stuff, expanding it outward too much. And if they're not careful, I believe that the whole tradition, Philippine tradition, is going to be, you know,
Mm.
almost gone.
I love the fact that you could still run away and go somewhere else if you don't like Manila. I mean,
Yeah,
yes, sure, it's
yeah.
expanding. And I love the fact that a Canadian is actually concerned for it and can actually see what's going on. What's her name, by the way? I'd love
I
to see that.
forget. I have it bookmarked on my phone. That I don't have time to look at it
So
right
yeah,
now. So
share it
we do.
with me when if you
Yeah,
can. But
yeah, yeah.
it's those kinds of things that I'm interested in. It's I'm like any Filipino, I'm also always interested in what foreigners actually see in the country.
Mm,
But
mm.
yeah, I don't think it's going to happen overnight or maybe in 10 years. But
It's not gonna happen in our lifetime. That's for sure.
I still appreciate the fact that you can still run off to, let's say, the Cordilleras or Mindanao or Visayas and and
See,
experience traditional
you
places.
the first two things that you mentioned, Cordilleras and Mindanao, and
Visayas, Mindanao.
in my train of thought, it has always been painted as a dangerous place. You know what I mean?
I
In my
was
brain.
I was in Intramuros the other night doing
Oh,
a delivery,
oh,
and it's like it's almost just theatrical. It's great. I love the the police uniforms and everything,
right.
but there's something missing. And come to think that it's Intramuros,
Mm,
right? It's
mm.
the walled city in the Philippines, and
Is it?
if it's the only place that I know that's like that. Nah,
Yeah.
the that the Spanish built, but you know what I mean. It's like there's but the cobblestones are still there, and
Mm-hmm.
you can still
Mm-hmm.
see tradition all over the place. But there's something palpable that's missing. I mean,
Right.
but it just becomes sort of theatrical without the actors. But it's just a stage,
Right. Right. Right.
and some actors that are the guards. But there's something missing about the place. But parang this fiesta feeling about it. It felt like Malate. Are you familiar with Malate back in
No.
the 90s?
No. No. No.
It
Never
was like
been to
this
Malate.
party place, Eastwood kind of. That's how it felt. That's how Intramuros felt like
Yeah. Yeah.
when I was there the other night. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, it was a good conversation in regards to it. Sorry for cutting it short. Um, what else? Anything you want to add on?
I'm looking forward to the next episode where we might be able to talk about why are Filipinos viewed as vain.
Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be
Ooh.
discussed on the next
From
episode.
culture to your ego.
Ex- yeah. All right, guys. Well, hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, please like, subscribe, do the whole thing on Facebook, Twitch, TikTok, whatever,
If you
YouTube.
just joined us, it might be good to say that we are on when are we on? Mondays,
We're on
Wednesdays, and
Mondays,
Sundays.
Wednesdays, and